Moms everywhere are exhausted. We're burned out, stressed out, overtired. If you'd like to find out some ways to have more energy, that's the subject of today's video. So stay tuned and learn how to increase your energy. Hi mamas, Jessica here with Yogini Mama, where I want to help you create healthy habits, manage everyday stress, and live an empowered life. Hey, welcome back to another video, and the subject of today's video is how to have more energy. If you're a busy mom like me and you're hitting up that Starbucks line more times a week than what you think or more than what you want, you are not alone. I'm telling you, energy can seem like one of the most elusive things. There's never a shortage of things to do, and around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you just hit a wall and all you want to do is go home and lay in your pajamas on the couch. So what can you do to increase your energy and to have a more sustainable energy throughout the day? So a few things here. This is going to be the first part of a video series, and today we're going to talk a little more about the more practical things like diet and sleep and those sorts of things that can help boost your energy. But do make sure you subscribe, because there's going to be a part 2 to the video where we talk more about the sort of emotional mental drains on our energy and relationship drains on our energy that sometimes go unnoticed. So that's going to be part 2. But today let's talk about right into this material of why you're so tired on a physical level and what can you do right away to start addressing it. Well, one of the first culprits, obviously, is that we are not sleeping well. And there are a couple of different ways to not sleep well, more than a couple probably, but the two main ones is that, first of all, either you're having trouble falling asleep or you're having trouble staying asleep. And so those actually are related issues, but they're distinct according to Ayurveda, which is the sister science to yoga that teaches us how to live and move and sort of align with the seasons and with the forces of nature. But in a nutshell, if you're having trouble falling asleep, that's a little more of a vata issue. It's called a vata in Ayurveda, and that has to do with more the air and ether elements, and that's the constant activity, the constant mind movement, the constant exposure to screens, and the driving around, and the things that we do that are movement kind of mentally like agitating all day long. And so if you're having trouble falling asleep, it's more of a vata issue. Now, maybe if you're having no trouble falling asleep, but you're having trouble staying asleep, that's more of a pitta issue, which governs more the adrenals and the hormones and that sort of thing. And so what can you do? Well, the first sort of protocol for the first issue of not being able to fall asleep could very simply have to do with taking a look at how you're moving or maybe not moving during the day. When I say moving, I mean physical exercise, physical movement. Because you see, movement creates stillness. This is the yin and yang concept, right? And so if you're having trouble becoming still, being still and moving into the stillness of sleep and the quietude and restfulness of sleep, then maybe one of the culprits could be that you haven't moved enough during the day to create that opposition. Because see, everything creates its opposite. And so if you'll just take a week or so and get really committed to how you're exercising, moving a good 30 to 40 minutes, maybe even an hour a day, I can guarantee you it's going to impact your ability to fall asleep. And then the second piece of it is, how do you manage your night routine? Do you have a nightly routine, or are you just sort of like watching Netflix until your eyes bleed, right? And you go and lie in a dark room and you're like, I know, I can't sleep. Well, if you're watching TV up to the last minute or scrolling social media to the last minute or reading news, God forbid, something that's really kind of exciting and interesting, especially if you're watching a show like The Walking Dead or Game of Thrones or House of Cards, or like something that's like really like dramatic and it sucks you in, it really pulls you in and gets your attention, and then you're going right away to lie down and you're like, oh, I don't know, I can't sleep. Well, it's because your emotions and your adrenals and your whole nervous system has been wired to be in that world of whatever it is you've been watching. And so you want to take some time at the end of the day to do things that are going to help move you towards sleep. So we do this for our kids, right? Like we do the story, we do the bath, we do the tickles, we do the snuggles, and we know the importance of this as moms for our kids, but sometimes we don't really do it for ourselves. So so this is one of those self-care pieces that can really have a big impact on your energy if you're able to put yourself to sleep in a thoughtful and gentle and nice way. Be nice to yourself before you go to sleep. All right, so the second piece is maybe you have no trouble falling asleep, but you have a little trouble staying asleep. This is a little bit different issue, but it's also really important. These are the people, those of us who wake up at like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning. Maybe you have something that wakes you up, like you have a husband who snores, or you have kids that come get in bed with you, or pets who, dogs who bark, or cats that knock stuff over in the other room. I've been there. And so you have something that wakes you up, or maybe you don't, maybe just wake up naturally, and maybe it's really hard for you to get back to sleep. So most important thing, if this is you, if this happens to you, try to get up, go to the restroom, right, and then lie back down. But if you're not back asleep in about 10 minutes, do not continue to lie there and torture yourself. It is torture to try and lie there and get yourself back to sleep. So if you're not able to do that, get up. Go to another room. What I like to do is maybe do a few little stretches, like just some gentle yoga stretches, like a Baddha Konasana, which is a bound angle posture, and maybe a little cat-cow, forward bend, and then just do a little bit of breathing, right? And so give yourself a little 20-minute break of trying to go to sleep, and then go back and try again, right? And so one of the worst things you can do is just keep lying there in bed and looking at the clock going, oh my gosh, it's been 10 minutes. Oh, it's been 30 minutes. Oh, it's been 35 minutes. Oh, I gotta get up in the morning. Oh, I wonder how many hours I would get to sleep. I fell asleep right now. How many hours of sleep would I get? 1, 2, 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. And you do that thing, stop it, okay? If you're having trouble going to sleep, hop up, go in the other room, give yourself a break, do something calming, and then try to come in and go back to sleep. So that's my tips for sleep that have worked for me. And then the next thing that you're going to want to think about as far as increasing your energy is rest. Now, this is actually a separate thing from sleep. Sleep is this thing that we do at night where we go through the 90-minute cycles, right? There's the dream state, we go into the REM sleep, the rapid eye movement, and we're deep dream sleep, and then we're in a little different kind of cycles of sleep throughout the night. But rest is something different, and as moms, it's like we forget that this exists. We forget that there's a thing called rest during the middle of the day. So when you're feeling tired in the middle of the day and you're feeling like a lack of energy, likely it could be that you need to rest. And you might be saying, oh, well, I can't possibly, there's so much to do, and I can't, I just can't just stop, and I can't just rest. Well, the alternative is that you continue to perpetuate the cycle and you continue to feel exhausted. So I can tell you, we do this for our kids. Like, we know they need a nap when they get cranky. When they start to feel, tired, we make them lie down, but we don't do it for ourselves. And so one of the greatest ways to train yourself to rest is what I call little mini breaks. And you can do this when you're waiting in line for carpool. That's a really nice time. Or if you're waiting in line for something, in your car, or if you're getting like out of your last errand before you move to your next errand, you just take these little mini pauses. And you can maybe even lean the seat back in your car if you like to, and just close your eyes. And just for 5 minutes, if you want to take your smartphone and set the timer on your smartphone, you can do that. And for 5 minutes, and you just close your eyes and give yourself permission to do nothing for 5 minutes. And I can tell you, this is so healing. If you do this even just a couple, 2-3 times a day, it starts to give your nervous system permission to relax. And you become a very much more pleasant person to be around. You like yourself better, you feel better, you're nicer to your kids. But the second thing, around this rest piece is these little mini breaks is the first thing. But then the second thing is, if you really can take some time and do a full guided relaxation practice in the middle of the day, I'm going to recommend one. I'm going to link it up in the comments. It's called Yoga Nidra. And this is a guided relaxation. It's just a systematic relaxation for the body, about 20 or 30 minutes. And that can be so healing. And then what you might be thinking is like, well, I don't want to rest during the day because then I won't be able to sleep at night. And I can tell you, it doesn't work that way. Sleep and rest begets sleep and rest. You train yourself how to unwind and how to self-soothe. And so the more that you take these breaks during the day and you learn to rest during the day, the more you're going to be able to fall asleep at night and the more restful you'll feel throughout the night. It really does work that way, I promise. All right, so the last piece of this that we're going to talk about today, and like I said, come back for next week's video, we'll get into the more energetic piece and the mental, emotional piece. But today, what are you eating? What are you putting in your body? And this is, again, something we all know, like, don't eat the junk, but are you really like getting any whole foods? Have you had anything green? Have you had any collagen building, mineral dense whole foods in your diet today? Or are you just starting with coffee and leftover Pop-Tart crusts and, you know, cereal, sugary cereal or whatever, and fast food, hitting Chick-fil-A 4 or 5 times a week, you know, and doing the deep fried stuff? It's like, if you can really limit that stuff to about, you know, once every other week, seriously, and get yourself some whole foods, get yourself some fruit and some nut butters and some, you know, good cheeses and yogurts and things that are going to be more wholesome and more recognizable by the body instead of all the chemicals and the sugar, you're going to feel so much better. Because that other stuff, it affects you at a cellular level if you're putting that stuff in your body. Because now the drain and the fatigue and the lack of energy feeling comes from us having to process all the stuff that the body doesn't recognize. And that's really draining for the organs, for your liver and for your spleen and for your kidneys, having to filter all that stuff out, and for your digestion. And so you want to take care that you're eating some wholesome, nutritious foods and drinking plenty of clean water every 30 minutes. The rule is 4 ounces every 30 minutes. And by the way, this is something a friend of mine at the health food store told me, that drinking 4 ounces of water every 30 minutes is the way that you stay hydrated. If you drink like a big thing of water all in one sitting, it actually doesn't hydrate you as well because it sort of flushes out the minerals of your body and you just have to go pee, right? So, but if you can set your timer and keep that bottle with you, and every 30 minutes you just drink like, it's like 4 or 5 sips, and do that all day long, because your brain is primarily water, and if you're feeling brain fog and fatigue, it could have to do with dehydration. All right, so these have just been a few things for managing your energy, increasing your energy, and feeling better as a mom so that you can go out and live an empowered life. Come back next week. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And hey, post in the comments if you have some things you do to increase your energy. I'd love to know about them. This has been Jessica with Yogini Mama. Namaste.